Hi, and welcome to the Dinner Agenda. This is Bo.
And this is CLo.
Hello, CLo. You're singing again.
I know. Well, I'm on vacay this week, so it's nice sunny day.
You are. Yeah, you
I'm
are.
I'm looking at some Canada geese outside.
Oh,
It's
that's
lovely.
nice. That's really nice. So, how are you doing? I think you went to go play golf today, didn't you?
Yes.
And how was that?
Sometimes it's called golf and sometimes it's called a game of whack fuck. So it was more of a whack fuck kind of day for me, but it
Was
was
it
fun
okay?
and it was sunny and
That's
I was
good.
with my people. So yeah, it was
Yeah,
good.
that's awesome. Good for you. Good for you.
Hmm.
Okay, so what's new? What's going on?
Um, so I was up here last weekend
Mm-hmm.
and the dog is a grazer, so her food is always down. There's always kibbles in the bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And she's happy to have it whenever, she just goes and eats whenever she's hungry.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to bed last weekend, went to bed, and I was pretty sure her dish was full. And then when I got up in the morning, it was empty. And I
Okay.
thought, I feel like she did jump down because she was sometimes when Iz is up here with me, she'll go see Iz and then she'll come
Mm-hmm.
back into my room. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, oh, maybe she ate it. I don't know that for her to eat a whole bowl like that would be suspect at night.
Mm-hmm.
And then this weekend when we were up, I went to bed. It was a full bowl and she was in the bed with me the whole time. And I got up and it was empty. And
Oh,
I'm like, oh no.
jeez. Oh
I'm
no,
like,
is
I
right.
think we got some critters coming and stealing this dog food.
Mm-hmm.
So then Mel opened up like the knife and fork drawer and she could
Mm-hmm.
smell dog food. And so underneath it is almost like a little storage cabinet where the
Mm-hmm.
furnace is.
Mm-hmm.
And so we pulled the panel off the front and there was at least two
Oh,
full bowls of dog food stored up on either side of the little
no.
furnace cabinet.
No. You've got
Yeah.
mice.
I've got mice, girl.
You've got mice.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
you've got mice. Okay, so I are you gonna treat it or how are you gonna deal with this?
I'm gonna let them no.
You're just gonna live at peace with the mice, right?
Yeah, just me and the mice
Love is
here.
love, CeeLo. Love is love.
Yeah. And that's our Pride Month wrap up. Um, so we pulled the panel off. We took all the dog kibbles out of there and I put some poison in there and put the panel back on. But
Mm.
um last night we were inside and Nathaniel saw one run across the kitchen floor.
Oh my God.
So this morning I stopped early and picked up a couple of traps. So we'll get rid of
Yeah.
these little fuckers.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh
They
gosh.
can cause
Well,
havoc.
yeah, they can actually destroy a lot of stuff, CeeLo. They can destroy a lot of, especially with the electrical stuff inside the trailer.
Yeah.
But they can cause a lot of destruction, and there's disease associated with them as well. That kind of stuff. I don't know if I told you, but we had mice at one point in the house. Did I tell you this?
I think I remember in the basement somewhere, right?
Yes. Oh my God. So let me tell you because I get you're up at a trailer. You're definitely in the woods, right? And so you're probably going to encounter a lot more wildlife than you normally would in the suburbs, right?
Yeah.
Um and for me it just I find you saying that you have mice in your trailer is not as unusual, I guess.
Yeah.
But then for us to have them in the house is like, no, that's a different story, like that's just not something I'm okay with. So we were hearing things in the wall, like little scratching in the wall.
Oh my
And we
god.
thought, what the shit is that? Right. So, anyways, we figured out we had mice, like we probably had mice because one night we were in the basement watching TV and I had found this wonderful park nearby
Yeah.
that actually the birds were kind of really used to people. And so you would just bring like seeds and put them in your hands and just stand there with your hand outstretched and all the birds would just come and land on your hand and eat the seeds. So, me, right? Anything to do with animals. So I was there all the time. I'd go for a walk and bring this seed. So I had this huge bag of bird seed in the cellar in the basement. And so one night, Dave and I were watching a movie and we heard this rustling coming from the cellar. And I was just like, Dave, something's in there. Like, go check. So he goes and he opens it and he couldn't find anything, but he found a whole bunch of empty shells. So at that point, we knew we had something in there. It was probably more than likely mice, right? Then we called an exterminator to come and give us like a quote or whatever. And this guy, it was kind of like, oh, this, he came in and he's like, oh yeah, we just do this. We put traps down and this poison or whatever, and it makes them go outside and they want to drink, and then they leave the house. We're like, okay, that's great. So we thought we only had a couple, right? We didn't realize that it was, a law. We thought it was just a couple of them. So we didn't do anything.
It wasn't a couple, it was a whole family?
Well, the thing is, Dave was like, "I'm gonna handle this myself," right? Because if they're
Yeah.
just gonna put the poison out, what's the point, right? So
Right, right.
he bought a bunch of traps, and he was doing his business, and we thought, okay, well, we haven't heard anything, so all is good, right? Also, at the time, we had like both of our cats had allergies, and so we were using a wheat litter, so it was litter made of wheat, okay, and we had because we
Oh, no.
well, CeeLo, listen, listen.
I feel like I know where this is going.
Oh, because I essentially fed the entire forest of mice from my cat's litter. So I didn't realize that, but because we had multiple cats, we've got multiple litter boxes scattered throughout the house, right?
Yeah.
And one of them happened to be in the basement. And I went downstairs to do some laundry one day, and I went to go lay on the sofa down there and put the TV on while I was waiting for the load to be ready to change over. And there was this big glob of cat litter under one of the pillows. And I thought, what the heck is this doing here? Like, why is this here? Why would my cat do this? Right? Like,
Yeah,
why would
yeah.
she, and anyways, I take the pillow off, and then I take the cushion of the sofa off because I'm like, what the heck? I just want to see what's going on. CeeLo, CeeLo. I took the cushion of that sofa off, and there was mice shit
Everywhere.
everywhere. And then you could see little tunnel holes. They had gotten into the sofa. At that point, I was freaking out. And I said to Dave, this is not just a few, right? We have
Yes.
an issue. We have an issue.
These are
So,
cousins, aunts and uncles, grandma and grandpa, mouse
exactly.
family.
We've got the whole tribe. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
Total, total.
So, anyways, I was obviously freaking out because that is just fucking disgusting. So we call another company that comes, right? Now they are a humane wildlife company, but at this point, I'm kind of like, listen, I love animals and I appreciate animals, but I do not want them in my house. I really
Agreed.
don't. And I need to do what's necessary to get them out of the house. So we call this humane kind of wildlife removal, but we do say to them, like, look, we're open to doing whatever has to be done, right? So there were options. I mean, the poison is the one thing, the traps are another, but they said for the amount of infestation that was happening in that basement, because they were feeding off of that wheat litter. And
Oh,
they had
yeah.
confirmed that, yeah, like it was everywhere. So basically, long story short, they came in and we ended up having to pay 4,000 fucking dollars.
Oh
And what
my
they
god.
Yes. So let me tell you what they did though, because first of all, the furniture down in the basement was ruined, right? They checked everywhere. There was no evidence of them on the main floor or on the upper floor where the
Yeah,
bedrooms are. And I think part of that is because the cats themselves frequent the main floor and the bedrooms, right? Like the bedroom
yeah,
areas. They aren't in the basement a lot. And when they are in the basement, it's for little brief periods of time because we're watching a movie on one of the big screens. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's a
yeah.
short period of time, but most of the time we do the main living on the main floor and the upstairs. And so there was no evidence of them on those two floors, but there was tons of evidence of them on the basement. And
Basement.
obviously there was a shit ton of them. So they came in. What they did was they went into our attic and they dropped this like disinfecting bomb, and it goes off and it goes through the entire house and goes through all the walls in the house. And what it does is it disinfects and deodorizes everything, right?
Yeah,
So that way, you're getting rid of all the bacteria, you're getting rid of like all of that stuff. So they do that. And then they clean everything, right? Like they clean up everything. They got rid of the sofa for us. They took everything out. They cleaned up everything. And then what they did was they sealed the entire home. So it was almost like roofers, you know what I mean? Coming to the house. They
yeah.
were they were at our house for 3 solid days, and they sealed every
Cool.
little nook and cranny, to the point where, like, I mean, I didn't even know that what weeping tiles were. I do now, right?
Yep.
But they put mesh in all of those little weeping tiles so air could still flow through, but nothing can get through. So they
Yeah.
sealed everything, and basically what they said is like you could literally now pick up your house, drop it in water, and it should float because like everything was sealed. They sealed off
Sealed up.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So they did all of
I
that and mhm.
I was gonna say when we first bought our house a million years ago, there was
Mhm.
mice and we called someone. I don't remember it being 4 grand though. That seems kind of pricey.
Mhm.
But
I
I
know.
mean, like, you're at the point where it's worth it. You just have to do something, right?
Mhm.
And I remember them saying that the little mices won't live more than like 12 feet from like a food source.
Mhm.
And so if you can eliminate a food source, that's like the best first start, like first
Yeah.
step of solving the problem or whatever. So
100%.
mm,
However, they had been feeding off of that litter, the wheat litter, for
yeah,
years, right? Like, even before we knew that they were there.
yeah.
So they apparently had stores everywhere in the home, right? Like, because they'll store the food, and that's what they
Yeah.
were doing in the sofa. They were storing food, and they were storing food in the walls. So
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but it wasn't just a point of being able to eliminate because at this point they had enough stores to keep them going.
Yeah, yeah.
And, it's warm in the house or it's nice and cool in the house, so they're gonna that's their preferred place to
Oh,
be, right?
100%.
Yeah,
I had
so
to look up, like, when we pulled the front of the furnace cabinet off and I saw
mhm,
all that food under there,
mhm,
I thought, "Is this like a chipmunk maybe?"
mhm.
Right? Because I didn't know if mice stored food like that, and
They
sure enough,
do,
they do. They hoard
they
it and
do,
store it and save it for later, and
they do, yeah.
yeah. So
So
that was
they
like $40 worth of premium dog kibble out into the garbage.
I
Fuckers.
hear you because that's not cheap, that dog food is not cheap for sure.
Uh-huh.
But well, anyways, they sealed everything, CeeLo. They sealed everything, and then they put poison down. And
Yeah.
what they also did was they put one-way doors. They attached one-way doors to these little crevices or like weeping vents that
So they
or weeping
had an
tiles.
exit.
Yeah,
They
so
were able
that
to
they could
exit, yeah.
exit out and then the door shuts and then they can't get back in or whatever. So it took about 3, 4 months or so,
Yeah.
once they sealed everything to kinda get them all gone, and they've been gone and they can't come back in now at this point. So, what they were saying to us is that every home, pretty much every home has mice. People just don't know that they do
Yeah.
because they're not always coming out into the living areas, but they're coming into the warm spaces in between the walls, right? But it's when, like you mentioned, they find a food source that they're all kind of like, "Hey, brothers and sisters, let's go. Found a place to go," you know? So that's kind of what happened. Anyways, so now they can go to our neighbors because they're not coming back in here. So I
Right,
don't know
right.
how far you're going to go with your trailer though, because I don't think you can get that kind of ceiling done for a trailer, but I don't know.
No, and I mean, there's certain gaps where the water comes in and that kind of thing that I'll seal up with the steel woolly stuff so that
Yeah,
they can't come in, and, like, we close it up through the winter, and so all, like, food items need to go, and there's been
yeah.
evidence of mice in the spring once in a while, but they like, nothing they come in through the winter. There was one year I left, like, a vanilla lip balm in the little basket,
Yeah,
and that was chewed up, and then one year so you just get better every year at making sure everything's cleaned up,
yeah.
and then one year they had gotten, like, silicone oven mitts?
Oh, come
I'm
on.
like,
What
"Why
did they
would they
come
want
for?
that?" But there was,
What?
like, a crust of food on it or something,
Oh, you're
and so
kidding.
they chewed apart that, yeah. But
Oh,
we've been good, like, knock on wood, we've been lucky the last few years, and then now they're they found us again.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah.
I know. Well, okay. Well, good luck dealing with those.
Yeah, thanks.
Appreciate it. I appreciate
Yeah.
you dealing with it because I do come for a visit. So,
And I have another fun,
oh yeah. What?
vacation summer adventure story to share with you. Guess what
Oh
I
yeah.
did last night?
What did you do, CeeLo?
I went
Went
and
on an
played
online auction with Mel?
no,
What did you do?
no, close, there was gambling involved. We
Okay.
went to bingo.
Oh, bingo! I love bingo. How did it
Remember
go?
we
Did you
used to
win?
go. No.
Oh.
We had a lot of fun. We went with a few people from the park
Mhm.
my sister and her husband, and so, yeah, it was like it totally brought everything back from when we used to go
Oh my
with
gosh, yeah.
the one, I felt so young being there, so that was, like, very affirming. I I also kind of felt skinny, so there's
Yes.
that.
Skinny and young.
Right?
Yes.
And then,
Oh.
yeah, we had a lot of fun, but, it reminded me so much of when we used to go all the time, so that was
Yeah.
fun.
There was a period of our lives where we were going to bingo all the time.
Right? We used to go
Oh my,
regularly.
yeah. Yeah, we loved it. I know we loved it.
Yeah.
Um, okay, well, I still kind of like it. I still go every once in a while. Dave and I will still go. Or, we'll grab another couple or
This
whatever
was
and we'll
like small town Kirkfield Lions Club Community Center something or other.
I could just
It was
imagine.
it was
Mhm.
cheap, it was fun. We
Yeah,
brought in a
yeah.
Yeti with a little cocktail in it,
Did
and
you?
we yeah, it was so much
Good for
fun.
you.
It was so
Good
much
for
fun.
you. Awesome, CeeLo, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's on the agenda for today?
Well, I thought since we're kicking off summer in style and we're in shorts and swimsuits and we're talking about boob sweat and humid titties, yeah, I thought we
Humid
could talk about
titties?
some of that stuff. Have you heard that one before?
I have not, but that's really good. Humid titties. Okay. Yep.
Humid titties.
Yep.
So yeah, that's what I figured. And then we kicked things off when we launched the pod and
Mhm.
we talked a bit about your experience on Ozempic. So I figured we could
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that as well.
Sure.
But
Sure.
yeah,
Okay.
little everything under the sun, given it's summertime.
Okay, that sounds good. Where do you want to start? Do you want Ozempic update or do you want to start just talking about the dreaded
Yeah, why?
swimsuit season?
Yeah, let's get an Ozempic update from you.
Okay. So I think I alluded a couple of episodes before that I had stopped taking Ozempic, and that is still the case. I have stopped taking it. And the only reason, well, not the only reason, there are a few reasons as to why I did stop. But the first reason is because my insurance does not cover it and it's super, super expensive.
Right.
So it's about $560 a month
Oh
to
my
to
God.
yeah, get to have the right dose, for weight loss. And so at CeeLo, it was becoming way too pricey, to continue that. So I had to stop it specifically for that. But in addition to that, I think that, you know, we're now realizing that Ozempic works really great for some people and it doesn't work great for others. And I think I'm in that group of it does okay for me, but it's not the best. And I'll explain why. And I don't know if that other brand Mounjaro is any better. The statistics show that it might actually work better than Ozempic, but it's not available right now. It's all on back order, so it's not something that could be tried anyways. But again, it's still out of pocket, so I don't even know if I'll even bother with that.
Yeah.
But with Ozempic, for some people, they really feel the effects of the medication really strongly, like they're very sensitive to it. So they are the group of people that, have to be reminded to eat and, like that kind of stuff because it just works so incredibly well for them. And then there's those of us where it starts off really well, which it kind of did for me. And then your body adjusts to it and you don't get the same side effects or positive benefits from it as you did before. So what I was finding was I was on the top dose for the weight loss, and I had initially lost weight, and then my body did adjust to it, and I wasn't losing anymore. It was literally I was just kind of hanging tight onto the 17 pounds that I had lost previously, right? And there was just like nothing, no movement, no nothing. And
Mm.
I personally, for me, CeeLo, I have to be very careful because I have done so much dieting in my past that it led to binge
Yeah.
eating disorder, right? So I have to be super careful with going on diets. I can't go on diets anymore because if I do, and if I restrict myself too much, then the binge eating rears its ugly head and then it becomes a vicious cycle. So knowing that I have to be very careful of the type of restriction that I have. So really what I'm looking for or what I was looking for from Ozempic was a little bit of assistance to maybe not want to eat as much
Yeah.
and control that way. But I wasn't seeing enough of a benefit for me to warrant spending five
I
hundred
was
sixty
gonna
dollars a
say,
month,
yeah,
right?
like if
Yeah,
17
yeah,
pounds is one thing, but if that
yeah,
had continued, then you were like, "Oh, okay,
yeah,
well, maybe I'll
yeah.
set money aside to do that." But if it's
Exactly.
not really work I know a couple of other people that had tried it,
Uh-huh.
for weight loss and had lost some weight on it, seemed to
Mhm.
be working for them, but I just hear I feel like I was hearing a lot about it when we first chatted about it back in March-ish or
Yeah.
whenever that was,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's exploded, like, I'm hearing about it all the time now, I'm getting ads on Instagram for it, like,
Yeah.
I'm see Wegovy and,
Yeah.
Mounjaro and,
That sounded very
Ozempic as
Italian.
well.
Mangiarno.
It's my Italian accent I have today, okay?
Wait, that just
Um,
turned into some kind of Spanish. Okay. Okay, okay.
okay.
Alright.
Yeah, I just keep seeing so much more of it, so I was kind of
Yeah. Yeah.
curious what
Well,
was
I
going on.
think, honestly, CeeLo, I think if people are able to, let's say, like diet, if you will,
Yeah, yeah,
if they're able to count their calories, watch their calories, and definitely do a restriction that way, then it's going to be very successful because it helps from a hunger perspective. So it's easier for you to be on
yeah,
less calories for sure. But for the handful of us who have yo-yo dieted so much in our lives that we've ended up causing some severe disordered eating issues, we
yeah,
have to be a little bit careful and handle things a little bit differently so that, because really at this point, stability is the key for people with eating disorders, right? Like you want to be able to stabilize yourself. It's the yo-yo dieting that really causes all the negative impacts to your health. So,
yeah.
anyways, so it's just,
Well,
you know what? It's
and
just not for me. That's all.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
the thing is that and we talked a little bit about this, back in March, but I felt like you had gotten to a decent place of acceptance, right? Like, "This is
Yes.
me, this is where
Yes.
I'm at, and I'm
Yes.
not gonna restrict myself anymore," and then,
No.
the next, like, thing comes along, and you're like, "Oh, maybe I should try that."
Yeah.
And I totally get it. I totally, totally get it. It's
Yeah,
so
for sure.
tempting
Yeah.
because I don't wanna have to put the work in, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
I could easily do it. I've done it before, tracked everything and,
Mhm.
was getting more exercise and all of that. I know it's possible, but
Mhm.
I don't
Mhm.
know, I just
Well, it's also, CeeLo, I think yes, you have to put the work in to track, etc. But I think that if you even just look at both of our history, right? How many times have
Mhm.
you and I lost and gained, lost and gained, lost and gained, right? So,
Yeah, yeah,
looking at it realistically, it's, the healthy thing to do would be to lose it and maintain it, or maintain
right.
the weight you're at and maintain it. You know what I mean? Because it's like I mentioned before, it's the up and down that really wreaks all the havoc, I should
Oh,
say, for your body.
totally, totally.
Yeah.
And
And
I think if I was gonna focus on anything at this point, it would be on, "Hey, why don't
yeah.
we consume less chocolate or sweets?" Because that's my guilty pleasure for sure,
Mhm.
and focus more on, are you getting enough veggies? Are you doing
Yeah. And so it's funny that you say that because, that kind of lends itself into a little bit of the body positivity conversation that we'll probably end up talking about
Yeah,
in this episode. But, when prior to me starting Ozempic, you're right. I had been doing a lot of work with a therapist on understanding me and my eating habits. And, it started off with, why am I fat? Right? Like, why do I do what I do? And then you begin to learn, some things about how, some people turn to alcohol and drugs to help manage their emotions or help manage their traumas in their life, and there's others like me who turn to food. That was the assistance that I could have, or that helped me, I should say. So
yeah, I think that, taking the time to work on yourself, I think it makes a really big difference, and overall makes a big difference in your happiness, right? Like, in your happiness.
well, it does, but I mean, understanding why you do the things that you do, and then
Right?
understanding, the effects that type of mindset has on you emotionally and physically, and how you damage yourself by not handling it in the best way possible, like the yo-yo dieting, for example, right? Like
Yeah.
we're always trying to strive, for me anyways, it was I was not worthy or I was not good enough unless I had a thinner body. And so I was always striving for that. And it's still
Yeah.
that mentality still rears its ugly head. I mean, it's a mindset that's been so fully ingrained, right, in a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
us. But I had done a lot of work, and to try to come to terms with, this is who I am. This is my body type. This is my body shape. These are the struggles that I have with food. And I have to recognize that I have those struggles. And I also have to recognize that I need to take better care of myself. And
Yeah.
taking better care of myself means, for me, it means not dieting. It means trying to focus on making sure that I have good nutrition throughout the day and not stressing if I also add in chips or chocolate. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so it's like I'm sitting there saying, okay, so I need to make sure that I have a little bit more vegetable tonight with dinner because I didn't have enough during the day today. So making that decision. And I'm going to tell you, CeeLo, that would not have happened had I not done the work with the therapist prior to,
Yeah.
on some self acceptance, because for me, my self acceptance used to always be wrapped up in, if I could lose weight or if I was thinner, I would be much more accepting. Like, I'd be much more accepted, I should say.
Accepted. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what happens is, when you diet all the time, you remove food groups, you remove fun foods, you remove, things that people like. And when you remove those for periods of time and then you add them back here and there, you go crazy on them, right?
Yeah.
Like, you just
Because
binge
you've
them like crazy.
restricted yourself
Yeah.
so much, right?
So I would forego vegetables and I would forego a healthy meal because I would say to myself, oh my God, if I don't eat this deep fried, fat covered, oil covered something or other now, I'm never going to get it because I have to go back on a diet again
Yeah,
tomorrow.
because
So,
next week, next Monday, it starts
right.
next
So it's
Monday.
like
Yeah, yeah.
you're hoarding it and you're going and you're going. And yeah. And so you end up making not so great decisions because you're trying to get in what you can, and working on accepting yourself for who you are and
Yeah,
how you are, and not focusing so much on body size and focusing more on how do I feel,
yeah,
right? And what do I need and what do I want? That kind of stuff. It does help break a lot of that cycle. So,
yeah,
and it's a constant, it's always work though, CeeLo. It's not like you go to therapy and you get this insight into why you behave the way that you do around food and then it all of a sudden changes. It's a constant thought process and it's a constant
yeah,
decisioning. You know what I mean? Because it's so ingrained in us that
yeah,
our
100%.
bodies are.
It's something that you've been taught
Mhm.
or thinking the way of thinking about yourself that you've
Yeah,
learned over time from the time you
yeah,
were a kid.
yeah.
It's not going to change overnight. It's not going to change with one therapy session or a dose of
No,
Ozempic for that matter, right? Like
no,
you're
no.
you're if you don't feel great about yourself, you're not going to feel
Mhm.
great about yourself regardless of what size you are.
That's
And
exactly it. Yeah,
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 yeah.
yep.
But there's been a ton of, at least I'm seeing, maybe I'm just finding them all now, just this whole um body positive posts and posters on or accounts, I should say, on Instagram. And I saw the hashtag just post the pic, right?
Oh,
Because
what's
people are
that?
so reluctant to post a pic of themselves out in their
Ah,
swimsuit enjoying
yeah,
their family, or
yeah, yeah,
the mom is always hiding in the back because she doesn't feel good about the way she looks. And
yeah, yeah,
just to get out there, and every time I see those posts, I'm like, yeah, girl, that's right, go do
yeah.
it,
Yeah, yeah.
go
Well,
do it.
It's funny because I still do suffer from that too. I mean, I try my best to not, but when there are pictures being taken, I have that initial like, like let me hide in the back kind of thing. And I literally, I do have to kind of prep my mind to say, and do some self-talk that
Mhm.
says, don't be so stupid. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, don't be so ridiculous.
yeah,
Who gives a shit? Just fucking get your goddamn picture taken
get your
and don't worry
picture.
about it. It's hard though. It's hard because our social norms, specifically in North America, have been for quite some time on women looking certain ways. Like, even if you think about back in, oh gosh, I don't know, CeeLo, like 1800s or so,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like those corsets that those women would wear that would
yes,
tighten the waist so, so, so much. I mean, if you see those old pictures, it's like their waist was so tiny and then the upper body was out and like, and
yes.
tiny, tiny little waist was considered attractive, and
Yeah, yeah.
you were worthy if you had this
Can
tiny.
you imagine how friggin' uncomfortable that would have been growing up in that era?
Well, I mean, honestly, I think that for the most part, women have gotten the shit into the stick on this part because if you look through all of history and you look through different cultures, right? There like, oh my gosh, was it the Chinese culture where they would bind the feet, or was that
Oh,
Japanese?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You know what I'm
small
talking about?
feet or something,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was one of and they would bind the feet so that they would have tiny, tiny little feet, and these women could barely walk, but the men found this to be super attractive, and so that social norm was put onto women. Same with the tiny waist thing, right?
Yeah,
Same with having the slim body, and it's like, it's, even in the 1950s, it was, make yourself beautiful and presentable for when your husband
yes.
comes home because, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, it's your job to look like
that's your
this.
job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like to look like this
yeah.
beautiful, beautiful,
You know
face.
what? I don't
Mhm.
care what you say, I'm proud of my size 9 feet, okay? Eh, they're
Now, are those
enjoyable, they
size
get me
9
many
wide
places.
or
Yeah, no. No, I don't, actually, my feet are actually pretty s
narrow? You've got narrow
yeah,
feet. Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, you
It's the
do.
only skinny part on me, but I'll take it. Um, have you been watching, Bridgerton?
Oh my fuck yes! I love that show, but have you been watching it?
Yes. I have been,
Yes.
and, the one of the actresses on there, and I should have fucking looked it up and I didn't, but there's an
Penelope,
actress.
right? She
Yes,
plays
Penelope,
Penelope? Yeah.
and, she there's in season 3, I guess, a sex scene with her in it, and
Mhm.
there is some nudity in
There
that
is.
sex scene,
Yeah.
and she got posts on her Instagram, or somebody had made a comment about it to say,
Mhm.
"Wow, how brave of you
Mhm.
to do that scene." And I'm like, "Is anyone saying that to the skinny characters that are doing the sex scene?
No,
No.
no.
They're saying it of her, she's probably a fucking size 10 for starters,
Yeah.
right? Like, she's not even, in the actor world, she's
Yeah.
maybe bigger than your average woman actor, but, like, come on."
Yeah, yeah.
And her response to that troll who made that comment was, "I was brave to show my totally awesome titties
Yeah,
because I
yeah,
have
yeah.
awesome titties," or something like that. Like,
And it
she
was
just
something
came
like,
back at it. Yeah.
"Do don't other people wish that they had boobs," or something like mine. Yeah,
Right?
yeah, she was, yeah, yeah,
Totally,
yeah,
totally.
yeah.
And I was
But
just like, "Yeah, that's right, you go, girl."
I know there was so her name, I just looked her up, Nicola Coughlan,
Nicola
and, so
Coughlan, yeah.
she plays Penelope Featherington on Bridgerton. But,
Yeah.
yeah, it was, awesome that she did that, but I hear you, CeeLo. It reminds me, we were talking about, in one of the episodes, I don't remember if it was your coming out or if it was Mel's coming out story, and, talking about how it wasn't on TV, it wasn't on, anything, right? Like, nothing about homosexuality was actually on TV, or there was nothing, no awareness of it as much,
Yeah.
in the mainstream media kind of thing. And, everybody had that interpretation of, oh, if you're gay, that means I think you had said you're in chat, like assless chaps or something,
Oh,
walking
yeah,
down
the
the
assless.
street or something, right? And, but I kind of find it's very similar to larger bodies as well, where it's like, because that's never shown, it had never been shown as much in the media or on TV or in movies.
Yeah,
And
total.
yeah, and so seeing a larger body person for a lot of people still seems a bit abnormal. But as Instagram and as movies and as TV shows are starting to cast larger bodied people, it's now, becoming a little bit more of a norm. And that is helpful because what it's showing is that, people are all different. All of us are different.
Yeah, total.
We all are different. Our skin tones are different. Even if, a Caucasian person compared to another Caucasian person, our skin tones are different. I mean, I'm Italian, my husband's Scottish. He has a darker skin tone than I do. You'd think that it would be opposite, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But, we're all different. And it doesn't mean that we're any less because we have larger bodies. And I was just so happy that that show, Bridgerton, did that. And I'm happy that she did her nude scene because it's like, you know what? A body is a body and it's beautiful. Right. And
Yes,
she's
and
she's a beautiful girl. So
Yeah,
fuck that,
she's
people.
beautiful.
Just start fucking getting used to it because most people are not tiny, skinny people.
Yes. No,
Like, if you walk
Dr.
around
Waif.
yeah, like, if
Yeah.
you walk around, there's more of us out there than there is any other than so, like, just fuck off, really.
Yeah,
That's what
right?
I
Why do
say.
people gotta get on this? But there is way more posts that I'm seeing. Well, Lizzo
Yes.
is one of the most,
Yeah.
um, proud people out there. She posts whatever the
Mm.
fuck she wants, and I friggin'
Yeah.
love her for it.
Yeah.
I love her for it. I'm sure she gets trolls all over Instagram, but
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
doesn't give a shit. She actually started, I think, like a lingerie line too.
Did she really? I didn't even
Yeah,
know that. Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Or like
Okay.
undergarment kind of thing.
Oh, that's
There's
interesting.
two other ones on IG that I follow. I think one's called Thick Hiker Babe, and
Okay.
she's, a plus size girl. We'll go with that. And she
Mhm.
just does hikes all over the place, all these beautiful places. Like she just gets out there and does her thing.
Yeah.
Love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And Lively Liz is another one. She's just posting like her
Yeah.
workout and she shows off her butt all the time. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, it's funny that you talk about, like, the hiking and stuff. I remember when I was working with my therapist on, body positivity and accepting myself the way that I am, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
As you begin kind of, learning to accept yourself and your mind shifts a little bit on, um, you know, yourself, right? Like, just emotionally and psychologically,
Yeah.
you're just a tiny little bit happier, you know what I mean, and more comfortable, because you're not putting such demands on yourself. And I found that, one of the things that she mentioned, was the exercise piece. And she was saying to me that it's now been proven that, no matter what your body size is, if you move your body on a regular basis, your body will adapt. It'll adapt to itself, meaning that it'll learn how to carry the extra weight without causing damage. It will learn how to, function, without causing damage.
Yeah.
And so, but the important key is that you're consistently moving,
Yeah, that
right?
you're getting out there
Yeah,
and doing
not
your
that
thing. Yeah.
yeah, but, it doesn't have to be that you're at the gym all the time. I used to go for and I've kind of which is really bad, I've stopped that temporarily, just because life got a little bit busy, but I was in the habit at one point, I was going for 30-minute walks every day. I would get up,
Good for
I
you.
would walk into work, and I would go for a walk because I enjoyed being outside and listening to the birds and listening to the trees, rustle around, and I put a podcast on and I'd just, go for a nice little 30-minute walk, and then I'd come home and I would feel really great.
Yeah.
And, it helped my arthritis, it helped everything.
Yeah.
Since I haven't been walking, I noticed the difference, right? So I do have
Well,
to get back into doing that.
it helps your mood, I think,
It
too,
does.
especially when you're getting out in
Yeah.
nature. You have a lot of nice little,
Yeah.
park space near you. It's beautiful
Yeah.
to walk. I
Yeah.
love walking the dog. I do find I'm walking less than during COVID.
Yes,
Felt like I
exactly.
was doing a
Yeah.
little bit more of it, but I do, I mean, I never really enjoyed the gym per se, where,
Yeah.
Mel really liked the gym, was really into lifting for a while. She really loved
Mm.
that.
Mhm.
But my Apple Watch gives me a new challenge each month,
Mhm.
and if you complete the challenge, and each month it's something a little bit more than you did last month, and if you
Mhm.
complete the challenge, you get a little badge that says, "Hey, you hit your June challenge or whatever. Way to
Yeah.
go." And I'm
Yeah.
like, that gamification, I it motivates me to get it.
Oh,
Like, this is gonna be a
sure.
perfect year. I'm gonna get every month badge.
There's your competitive streak. That's cute. That's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That's good.
So it's good for
Well,
that.
I think it's important to, if you are able to, I mean, especially for those that struggle, right? With,
Yeah, yeah.
accepting themselves. It's like if you can start to try to learn a little bit of acceptance, then you can start to shift that focus on, self-care,
Well,
right? Like,
I would
mhm,
hate for anyone to be like, "Oh, no, I'm not gonna go out and walk for 10 minutes or 30 minutes," or
mhm,
"I'm not
mhm,
gonna try this little hike that feels like it's gonna be a bit of a stretch because they're bigger than the average."
mhm,
Like, I would hate
mhm.
that. Like, just go and do your thing.
Yeah,
I think it's
yeah,
important.
exactly. Okay, so I don't know if you know, but there is a difference between body positivity and fat acceptance. So
Okay.
did you
No,
know that they're two different things?
I have not Googled the, definitions of both, okay?
Okay, good for you. So body positivity is more it's more of a social movement it that kind of promotes that positive view of all bodies, right? Regardless of
Okay.
shape, size, gender, physical ability, all that stuff. It is accepting your body the way that it is and working with the body, and focusing just on health, instead of your physiological appearance, that kind of stuff, right?
Okay. Well, I like
Um,
that. I
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
I'm on board. Yeah.
Absolutely. Fat acceptance is a different type of movement, right? It's advocating for the obese and the overweight. It is a movement where, because there has been a lot of prejudice against
Mhm.
people who are in larger bodies, and that fat acceptance movement is focusing on the acceptance specifically of the obese or overweight individual. So they are
Okay.
two different movements, if you will, but they both kind of focus on acceptance. There was a study, and so we've talked about, we briefly touched on this, and I think it was the episode where we were talking about bad doctors and how some people experience prejudice
Right.
from doctors, yeah,
Yeah.
your body size, right?
Mhm.
And that tends to happen quite a bit. I know that a lot of people, if they're in a larger body and they go in to see a doctor, the very first thing the doctor says is, well, yeah, lose weight,
Yeah.
right? So they don't even bother sending them for the tests that they would potentially send a slim person for. They just right away don't even want to be bothered. It's just, lose weight. There was a poll that was done, or an assessment or a review, if you will, that was done back in a study. It was a study. That's the word that I'm looking for. It was done in 2012, and
Yeah.
they um, had 1,130 participants that were made up of dietitians, nutritionists, nurses, medical doctors, etc. And the questions that they were trying to have answered was how this medical community feels about excess body fat. When they see a patient that has excess body fat,
Mhm.
how positive are they about treating that person, right? And so the study showed that only out of the 1,130 people, only 1.4% of those medical practitioners had a positive or neutral attitude regarding someone who had excess body fat. So only 1.4% of them looked at that person as an individual and looked at them to be treated as such, versus the majority of that medical community basically being prejudiced against them, and just kind of looking at them as, well, you're
Oh,
overweight, so therefore it's your fault that you're ill.
I kind of felt like if you
Mhm.
had to make me guess, I would have guessed that, but I wouldn't have guessed those numbers. That's fucking
Yeah.
incredible.
Is that not fucking disgusting though, when you think about it? And then we sit there and we say, like, why, you know, why do we get so happy when, Penelope Bridgerton does a nude scene? You know what I mean? From
Yeah,
Bridgerton. And
yeah.
it's because, you know what? There's still so far to go with this. I mean, there are other minority groups, if you will, that are now starting to be more accepted. But this is the one that's still the last acceptable, form
Oh,
of
I'm
bigotry that's allowed
yeah,
out
yeah,
there.
yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm sure
yeah,
there's bigotry everywhere still happening, like, there's no
100%.
question, but, yeah, I am, like, astounded by those numbers. That's incredible.
Yeah, it is crazy, isn't it? And
Yeah.
I think that, if there was less focus on physical appearance on stuff, I think people would have much healthier ways of living,
Mhm,
like
mhm.
it's been documented, like it's been proven, right?
Yeah.
That um having a more positive mindset about your body, it leads to
Good for
less,
you.
yeah, it leads to
Yeah.
less stress, it leads to greater resistance to illness, it leads to better mental health. I mean, all of those things are worth it, I'd say. You know what I mean? To
Yeah.
to attempt it. But CeeLo, it's not easy. It's not
No.
easy because the world is filled with assholes, and they're also filled with good people, but they are filled with assholes.
That's
So
a
you got to,
that's the summary of our conversation. The
yeah,
world is filled with assholes.
we need to do an episode on assholes that we've
Assholes? Yeah.
met. Yes, that we've encountered. You know what I
I'm
mean?
gonna start looking up assholes now.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
on it. I'm
You
on
you
it.
should. You should. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so to round things out for
Yeah.
our summer our summer Lovin episode here, I
Mhm.
was curious because I was chatting with a friend of mine
Mm.
on swimsuits.
Yes.
And I was, where do you buy your swimsuits from?
So, I mean, from fat stores. No. So,
No, like
I
specifically.
specifically, I would say I have had, I'm just trying to think of majority. I would say between Pennington's and
Yeah.
Torrid are probably the
Oh,
two
yeah,
places I've
Torrid.
frequented the most for bathing suits,
Yeah.
and had really good luck with how they fit and how I like them and styles, etc. What about
Yeah.
you?
I was curious because I keep seeing ads now for Bloom Chick
Me
or
too.
Bloom Chic. I don't know
Yeah.
which it is, but I've never even heard of that brand before. And I keep
Yeah.
seeing it and I was like, oh, I wonder if
Yeah.
anyone's ordered from there before. But,
I'm curious about
um,
this too, CeeLo, because they have the girls come on and show what it looks like, right? Like
yeah,
basically they're saying it's true to
yeah.
the picture that they
She's like,
showed
I'm
the
five
outfits.
five and I weigh
Yeah.
this and this is a
Yeah.
size 20 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
I personally, I get all of my bikinis at Bikini Village, and
You are a
talk
fucking
about
liar.
body positivity, girl. I got it in total on lock. No. I've been buying bathing suits from Land's End, and I've
Yes. Yeah.
ordered them through the US, right? But
Yeah.
they used to have them in the Bay,
That's
like
right.
little, but they're gone now. But I'll still order it. I'll pay the duty. I'll pay the US to
Yeah.
Canadian conversion
Yeah.
because I find the quality of the suit is so good. They last
Yeah.
forever.
They do. Yeah.
And I like the fact that you can get kind of that tank top with a pair of shorts and you can mix
Yes.
and match and
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
that's where I go for my swimmy suits, but
Yeah.
that
That's a
and
good
the
brand.
Bikini Village, yeah, Bikini.
And your bikinis from yeah, a
Yeah,
bikini village.
100%. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, CeeLo.
Lovely, right? Yeah, so
Yeah.
I was curious about that.
Well, it's funny because, I said it before about, the women kind of getting the shit end of the stick on this. Do
Yeah,
you think like men, I don't know, like I'm sure that there are men out there that do feel more self-conscious about their bodies, you know what I mean? But I find that it's mostly women that put this pressure on themselves, unless I'm wrong. I don't know.
yeah.
I don't
I
know.
I feel like it's almost like the dad bod is like a trophy. It's like, "Yeah, that's right, I
Yeah.
got a dad bod." Well,
Yeah,
there's no trophy for this mom bod, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I
I
hear
don't
you.
know. I think it's totally different. I mean, I think that there are still, pockets of men
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
have pressure to feel a certain way, and
Yeah.
probably men that grew up similar to maybe yourself, where the whole body positivity wasn't a thing, and
No.
but
Mhm, mhm.
I don't feel in society that that's the same pressure for men as women for sure.
Yeah, I don't
Mm,
think so.
yeah.
Then there's those countries that love larger women, like, love them. So I told you about my experience in Morocco, right? I
Oh
was a
yeah.
hit in Morocco, that's for sure. But there's another place, CeeLo, and for the life of me, I cannot remember what the place is called. I'm gonna have to Google this. But I think it's some place in Africa where, the larger the woman, the more revered they are. And it's quite the opposite though. Like it's really horrible because they actually force feed the girls,
Oh my
right?
god, that's
Yeah.
brutal.
They force feed them to get them as big as possible, so that they're marriage material,
That's,
right?
like, just as bad in the
Yeah,
opposite
it is.
direction.
It is. But it just goes to show you how it's all social norm, right? Like it's all
Yeah, total.
the social, things that have been put on people that um, give you the style of the day or what's attractive for this century. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like what people.
100%.
Mhm.
Total, total.
I know in 1850, um, there was like a big kind of revolution, if you will, or uh, the women of that kind of era. They had this like Victorian dress reform, essentially. That was from like 1850, 1890, where they were refusing to wear the corsets as tight as they had been to get their waist set
Oh.
super thin. That was like one of the first body positivity movements that was kind of out there that was recorded, from what I can tell. where
Interesting.
women were kind of like, "Fuck this shit.
I'm not
Take
wearing
your
this.
corset and shove it up your asshole, men." You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's social norms. I'm
My
telling
god,
you, it's
that's so
social
funny.
fucking
Yeah,
norms.
it's
Yeah.
totally social norms.
Yeah.
And on that note, I guess I'm gonna go put my bikini on and go swimming.
I think you should. I think you should.
Yeah.
I think you should enjoy your vacation
Yeah.
and enjoy your bathing suit and take some pics and post them.
I'm 100% gonna do that.
Okay, I'll do the same.
All right. Well, you have a lovely
Yay.
rest of your week.
Thanks, honey. You too, CLo. Enjoy your time off.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for taking a seat at the table today. We love our dinner guests.
Don't forget to subscribe and follow The Dinner Agenda on the podcast platform you use so that you don't miss any new episodes. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook at The Dinner Agenda.
We look forward to hearing your comments, questions, and even ideas you may have on future episodes.
Thanks for taking this journey with us.